Hello friends. Dear students, we have great pleasure in welcoming you all on behalf of the Board of Studies of the Institute to this webcast on strategy to qualify and excel in the intermediate IPC course paper 6 on auditing and assurance. We welcome CA Kamal Garg ji, a good friend, a fellow member of the Institute, law graduate and an eminent faculty on this subject to guide us considering his rich and extensive experience in the subject. CA Kamal Garg ji has contributed e-lectures for the intermediate IPC course and final course of the Institute. He's been also associated with the Board of Studies in its academic endeavors. He's also been teaching in the NIRC of ICI and has been actively contributing for the various committees of the Institute, including ASB, Board of Studies, Ethical Standards Board, and he's also associated with other institutions. Kamal Garg is a prolific author also. He has written over a dozen books on this subject. In this session, we shall start with a brief introduction to the subject, including major components thereof and their relevance, followed by the strategy to qualify and excel. You can ask relevant questions, most of which would be addressed in this webcast, subject to availability of time. While we all appreciate that the subject matter of this webcast is or has a lot of conceptual or theoretical content, I'm sure CA Kamal Garg ji would be presenting the same in a very interesting and meaningful manner. He'll share his experience on past exams and tell you how you can get good marks, what is the strategy, what all should we do to be able to score well and qualify in this paper. Over to CA Kamal Garg ji.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. A very good afternoon to all of you. So before we take up the subject matter in the right earnest, a small question before the board is, should I qualify, should I excel, or should I study? Prime scenario which is faced by the students is, number one, we are not able to remember the standards number. Number second, we are not able to correlate sections in the examination. Number third, we are not able to present the answers. Number four, syllabus is too huge. Now the question arises how to address these issues. Let me start one by one. One thing which is quite appreciable is that every single student more or less is almost at par with the concepts, but it is all about presentation. Let us take a situation. I do have student A and student B. There is a question into examination. The management of ABC Private Limited has valued the inventory on LIFO basis, advised as an auditor. Let us assume the question carries 5 marks. Now supposingly Mr. A is there, who is one of the student of ICI. He is writing the examination as, since the management of ABC Private Limited has valued the inventory on LIFO basis, a qualified report should be issued. Now in this very case, he will be getting around 3 or 2.5 out of 5. Take other situation, Mr. B. Mr. B is writing the answer like this, since the management of ABC Private Limited has valued the inventory on LIFO basis, he should issue the qualified report being a statutory auditor. Now, the question was requiring advice as a statutory auditor. Simply by writing qualified report should be issued, it will not be fruitful. What we need to do is, at least we need to give an idea how to issue qualified report. Meaning thereby, we should not end up our answer by putting like that qualified report should be issued. Instead, we should extend our answer in much more fashion, like this. Since the management of ABC Private Limited has valued the inventory on LIFO basis, the statutory auditors should issue qualified report. Then, from the next paragraph, we should write like this, the qualified report should hence be issued in the following manner. What I am trying to convey is, instead of putting your answers like, we should issue qualified report, you should also write how to issue qualified report. Accordingly, in the examination, you must give a draft reporting of your comment like this. On the basis of information and explanation given to us, subject to valuation of inventory on LIFO basis, which is not as per AS2, we report that financial statements are reflecting true and fair view. And this is somehow the true spirit of your paper, auditing and assurance. Let us come back to the paper name. The name of the paper is Auditing and Assurance, and this spirit must be inculcated all through the paper. Meaning thereby, if there is any question, first of all you need to write what you are going to audit. Then you need to conclude what you need to assure. In this very example which I took up about valuation inventory, you audited and you concluded that inventory has been valued on LIFO basis. Now after that, you need to assure to the members of the company or to the governing body of the entities that qualified report should have been issued in the following manner, and that would be true presentation of any answer. Other way around, there is a problem. The problem is students somehow feel reluctant in remembering the section numbers, in remembering the SA numbers, in remembering the AS numbers. There is no need to panic. Let us take a situation. There is one SA 230 on audit documentation. It may happen on the day of examination that students might not be able to recall the number of the SA or the name of the SA. But there is a good thing. The good thing is that at least we would be able to recall the concepts and the potential. In that very case, instead of writing a wrong SA number or wrong title name, we should devise a strategy. The strategy could be like this. We can write the answer in this manner. As per engagement and quality control standards in relation to documentation issued by ICA-I, the working papers are the property of the auditors. Now just concentrate on the words which I use. As per engagement and quality control standards. These engagements and quality control standards are nothing but the parent of all the SAs, SRE, assurance engagement. Meaning thereby, let us take one more example. SA 700 on audit reports. Suppose that in examination we are not able to recall this number SA 700. Alternatively, what we can do, we can write like this. As per engagement and quality control standards in relation to audit report issued by Council of ICA-I. Audit reports can be of following types: modified report, unqualified report. This will give you good marks, if not the full marks. Students somehow are very panicful about two things. They believe that answers either could be right or could be wrong. I would have a different endorsement. I would say in between right and wrong answers, there lies one more extreme: appropriate answers. You need to focus upon the appropriate answers. And this is the appropriate answer. If you are not able to recall SA number, at least devise a different strategy by writing as per engagement and quality control standards. Similarly, this technique can be applied even in accounting standard based question. Suppose that in examination, if you are not able to recall AS number or its title, what you can do? You can write in this manner. As per accounting standard in relation to inventory valuation issued by Council of ICA-I, the LIFO method for calculating cost of inventories is prohibited. This would be the right inculcation. Meaning thereby, instead of making us in a panic mood or in a very fretful mood that we are not able to do this thing or that thing, let us devise a smart strategy of learning the things. And the smart strategy would be write the big names. Like for SA numbers, you can use the words as per engagement and quality control standard. For AS, you can write as per accounting standard issued by ICA and so on. And this would be the right inculcation. Let us take an example once again. In examination, let us have a situation. The question is, the management of ABC Private Limited has valued the inventory on LIFO basis, advised as an auditor. Now, if I do give a presentation of this question, the basic concept is that inventory cannot be valued on LIFO basis. Now, the presentation part. Presentation part, it can be divided into 3 points. I would recommend that whenever there is a problem-based question or a case study-based question, you can divide the answer into 3 clarity points. Point number one is the title of the answer. Give the heading title, and after title write valuation of inventory on LIFO basis by the management. Point number second is aspects involved. In this very point number second, aspects involved, you can write like this: as per accounting standard in relation to inventories issued by Council of ICA-I, LIFO method is prohibited while computing the cost of inventories. Hence, management should have issued either a weighted average cost method or FIFO basis for the purpose of calculating inventory cost. Third point would be conclusion. In conclusion, you need to write the crux and your assurance. Meaning thereby, up till point number 1 and point number 2, you were under the auditing function. In point number 3, that is conclusion, you will come into assurance function. Just see my wordings. In conclusion point, that is point number 3, you need to write like this: accordingly, on the basis of above, it may be concluded that the statutory auditor should have issued a qualified report instead of issuing an unqualified report, and this qualified report should be issued in the following manner. on the basis of information and explanation given to us together with our audit examination, subject to valuation inventory on LIFO basis, which is not recognized under AS2, we report that financial statements are reflecting true and fair view. It would not be exaggeration to say, in such kind of presentation, I believe that students should be able to score around 4 out of 5 or maybe 4.5 out of 5, and that would be a true presentation. Somehow, let me have a reiteration. I would repeat one thing very categorically. Students are aware of the concepts perhaps. They are not aware of how to present the answers, and this is the presentation. Moving a step ahead. While you prepare auditing paper and assurance paper, please do focus on the preparation of auditing standards, because auditing standards are the core of the subject. I am not saying do remember or try to make a panicful attempt to remember the SA numbers. Try to remember and learn the concepts within these standards. To take an example again, there is a very big standard SA 580, a very favorite standard of ICAI during the course of examination on written representations. There is no need to panic about if you are not able to recall SA 580. But yes, please do remember the concepts within written representation. In an examination, if you do forget, simply write in this fashion, as per engagement and quality control standards in relation to written representation issued by ICAI, simply by obtaining management representation or written representations, auditors are not relieved of their reporting responsibilities. Other strategy to prepare would be try to understand some of the technical words which are used in auditing. To take an example, there are some of the technical words which are used primarily. Number 1, for example, professional skepticism. Number 2, compliance procedures. Number 3, substantive procedures. Number 4, conclusive evidence. Number 4, persuasive evidence. Number 5, audit risk, and so on. All these numbers, all these jargons must be kept in mind during the course of examination. Please concentrate on your handwritten skills, English language, and usage of words. Let us take an example once again. The choice of words somehow is so bad that people are not able to apprehend your answers. Let us take a very small example. The question is an examination. Let us assume there is a question in examination. Write a short note on unqualified audit report. Now there is a student. He is writing the answer as follows. Unqualified audit report means a report whereby auditor is having no objection on financial statements. I repeat my statement. A student is writing the answer like this. Unqualified audit report means a report whereby auditor is having no objection on financial statements. Somehow, on the face of it, the answer seemingly is correct, but it is not appropriate answer. Just see the language of the appropriate and the correct answer. Unqualified audit report means a report whereby auditor is having no reservation on financial statements. Just try to correlate two words. In the erstwhile answer, I gave the word objection. In the second answer, I am using the word reservation. If a student is using the word unqualified audit report is a report whereby auditor is having no objection, instead of using the word reservation, his marks may be deducted. The reason being, the word objection is used when there is investigation and the word reservation is used when it is auditing. And in IPCC, if a student is not aware of a difference between investigation and auditing, it means that some concepts are still under clarification. Hence, please make a proper choice of words. Most importantly, you should present your answers in point-wise format. I would not say it is a rule of thumb, but when you present the answer in point-wise format, somehow they become legible and readable. So better it would be to write the answers in point-wise format. Moving to the subject once again, you are being given 15 minutes at the beginning of the examination just to make an analytical overview what to write, and how to write during the course of those 3 hours. I would suggest in those 15 minutes, take out those questions in which you are comfortable. For example, in any examination of CA-IPCC, you will get certain questions on short notes, certain questions on vouching verification. These are small but good questions, and you are bound to score good marks in these questions. Let us begin one by one. If the question is of vouching and verification, attempt it out. The experience states from past examination, the question of vouching and verification somehow is ranging in between 8 to 12 marks. I am taking a conservative approach. Let us take a situation. In examination, there is a question of 8 marks on vouching and verification. For example, how would you vouch or verify the following? Number 1, goodwill. Number 2, patents. Number 3, work in progress. Number 4, let us say inventories. Attempt this question. If I assume the question carries 8 marks, out of 8, on an average basis, I have seen students are able to score around 6 or 6.5 out of 8. So let us take a very inculcation. 6 marks out of 8, not a bad deal. Second question would be there. Again, the range would be from 12 to 16 marks. I assume 12 marks question on a conservative side. There is a question on special audit. How would you draft audit program for audit of partnership firms, for audit of cinemas, for audit of hospitals, for audit of clubs, etc., etc. Attempt this question. In this question, there is no complexity involved. You have to write general answers, but on a technical front. And in this very way, out of 12 marks, I have seen students were able to score around 8 out of 12 or 9 out of 12. Now, in the previous question, you scored 6. In this question, you scored 8. 14 marks are in your pocket. 14 marks are absolutely a surety, provided that you are using good choice of words and there is no technical error per se. Now, moving a step ahead, let us take a beginning to 40. 40 marks are my benchmark. Moving a step ahead. Third question, you need to choose about these questions which are directly based upon auditing standards. Some auditing standards are the crux of this topic. For example, documentation, written representation, then you have audit risk, then you have internal control system, then you have audit planning. These topics are the pervasive topics in examination. On an average, in an examination, auditing standards are being asked ranging in between 40 to 50 marks. Let us take a conservative approach. Neither 40, neither 50, 30 marks. 30 marks questions are bound to be there in most of the examinations of CA-IPCC auditing and assurance. Out of 30 marks, assuming that students are technically correct and presentably correct as well, out of 30 marks, you are bound to score somewhere around 22 marks to 23 marks in that very paper. 14 marks is scored already. 14 plus 23. You are near to 40. And balance paper is still left out. In the balance paper, you will find questions from appointment and removal of auditor. You will find questions about verification of company's aspects, for example, issue of shares at premium, at discount, bonus issues, issue of share capital, etc., etc. This will make a whole foundation of 100 marks of paper. Out of 100 marks, it is quite, I would not say comfortable, but quite easy on a technical front to score around 60 to 70 marks. Adding to the presentation aspects, it will add to your deliberation and consideration to score much marks. Before I move forward, let us take some questions if there are some questions here. So questions are yet to be there. Let us continue further. Let us take one more example. Students are being found that they are not very much well versed with ICAI publications. I would recommend please do refer ICAI publications, and there is no need to ponder here and there. ICAI did certain good things about the students. For example, what you can do to download ICAI publications which are applicable for students, you can log on to the website. Number one is students.icai.org. I repeat, students.icai.org. From this very website, you can download students newsletter, ICAI publications, and certain past questions as well. Number second website is the Board of Studies e-learning portal, studentslms.icai.org. I will recommend on a very strong notice to log on to this website and take out the e-lectures on various chapters of auditing and assurance, including all those chapters which I deliberated in the beginning, which are important for you. This way, you would be able to analyze where you are lagging and where you can brush up. Thirdly, I would recommend the mock tests are being organized at various levels in ICAI regional councils. Appear for those mock tests. Certain past papers are also available on the website studentslms.icai.org in the form of multiple choice questions, and you can answer these questions and analyze where you stand. This way, you would be able to make a control analysis of what you are and what you need to be. Moving a step ahead again, let me give you certain tips of answering those good questions. For example, how would you vouch or verify plant and machinery, goodwill, etc. Simply putting, auditing is a post-mortem examination. Whenever there is a question, how would you vouch or verify plant and machinery? Whenever there is a question of this nature, write certain common points always. You can write the answer like this. Plant and machinery can be vouched or verified in the following mannerism. Point number one. Certain points I am giving to you, these points are common points and can be written for each and every question on this very vouching verification. Point number one. Obtain letter of engagement from the management in context of vouching and verification of plant and machinery. That is nothing but letter of engagement. For this standard is SA210. Number second, assess the existence and efficiency of internal control system and accounting system in relation to plant and machinery. For this, you can refer SA315. Number third, you need to write that maintain proper documentation about the vouching verification procedures being carried out in respect of plant and machinery. Once you will write these common points, it will add to the richness of answers. What I am trying to convey, instead of focusing upon length of the answer, focus upon the richness of the answers, content of the answer. Proper content automatically will become lengthy. Most importantly, there can be a question about what are the points you will consider in drafting the audit program for partnership firm and drafting audit program for cinemas. Simple question. 8 marks question, you are going to get around 7 out of 8. For example, in this very question you can write this way, like common points. Obtain understanding about internal control system and accounting system. Number 2, obtain letter of intent from the management, that is letter of engagement. Assess efficiency of internal control system. What you need to do when this kind of question is there, how will you do the auditing of a cinema or partnership firm or a club or a hospital? Make an imagination about their balance sheet, make an imagination about their financial statements. Let us take the example of cinema hall. If I am deputing you to vouch and verify the various aspects of a cinema hall, imagine their balance sheet. In their balance sheet there will be certain assets, for example furniture and fixture, for example projector, for example screen, for example sundry debtors. Now you can write at length for vouching and verification of all these components. It will add to the richness of the answer. Come to the liability side of the balance sheet. They would be having share capital, they would be having unsecured loan, they would be having bank overdraft, they would be having cash credits. Now all these components are nothing but vouching and verification of share capital, unsecured loans, cash credits, bank overdraft, etc. This will add to the richness of answers. Similarly, after balance sheet, come to P&L account. In P&L account, the revenue of cinema hall would be sale of tickets, maybe the canteen revenue, maybe the revenue from parking lots. You need to write how to vouch and verify this revenue. Come to the expense side, you will be having depreciation, wages and salaries of staff of the cinema hall, etc., etc. This will add to the quality of answer. Now, if you will read through the book, you will be into a kind of fretful scenario, so much of syllabus, so much of pages. Better it would be that instead of digging into the pages, better it would be that you need to dig into the mind, and that mind digging would be simply write vouching and verification of each and every imaginative aspect of their P&L account and balance sheet. Moving a step ahead again. If I go by the auditing standards which are important for you, let me brush up certain core areas of auditing standards. I am giving the hierarchy in which you should study the auditing standards. The very first hierarchy would be Basic Principles Governing an Audit, SA 200 revised. Number 2 hierarchy would be SA 230, documentation, a very, very important standard for ICA examination. It is on documentation. Number 3 is SA 240, frauds and error in audit of financial statements. Number 4 would be SA 580 on management representation or written representation. Then it would be SA 250. It is about consideration of laws and regulations in an audit of financial statements. Then it is about SA 260, communication of matters to those charged with governance. Then it is SA 505, external confirmations. Then it is SA 530, about audit sampling. And most important standard, SA 700 series in relation to audit reports, in relation to drafting of audit reports. Most importantly, you need to remember one thing, that there is a latest amendment about the format of audit reports, so you need to brush up SA 700 at length for your prospective examination. If you go to the presentation available on the dais before you, you can see the analysis of papers. You will find the greater content into examination is about only one thing, auditing standards. So hierarchy would be auditing standards, then is about vouching and verification, then is special audits. Now these 3 hierarchies put together will form the core of your subject. I repeat again, auditing standards, then is vouching verification, and then is nothing but your special audits of partnership firms, cinemas, hospitals. These 3 contents put together will cover around 80% of your paper. When I say 80%, it means that auditing standards are on the top list, because auditing standards out of 80 would be around 40 to 50 marks. These auditing standards are quite repetitive in nature. You will find auditing standards in relevant chapters as well as in the volume of ICA study material. I would recommend, before going to the volume of auditing standards, start from the chapters first. If you see the last examination, even in the last examination of May 2013, majority portion was asked from auditing standards only. So please do focus on auditing standards. And the best way out to study auditing standard is only one: prepare notes. If you prepare the notes, summary of these auditing standards, you would find yourself very, very comfortable on the very day of examination, because on that very day, the problem arises, so much of the bulky syllabus, how to prepare. Better it would be prepare notes. If you prepare notes, the best thing would be you need to study, you need to write, you need to study, you need to write, and once you study and write, everything would be stored over here, and this will give you a best idea of how to write in the examination. Moving a step ahead again, sections. In examination, I would say even if you are 99.99% sure about a section, don't write this section. It may happen that if you quote a wrong section, marks would be deducted. Alternatively, what you can do, you can write this way: as per the provisions of this act. The relevant provisions are. Once you write as per the provisions of this act, it will add to the quality, if not the richness as well. Now, in examination, a bad thing can happen: case laws. In auditing, there are not much of the case laws, but yes, certain case laws are of extreme significance. Case laws are there. What you need to do in examination, certain worst cases can be there. Worst case number one: there is a case law, for example, Mr. A versus Mr. B. In examination, we may be into a dilemma or a confusion whether it is Mr. B versus Mr. A or Mr. A versus Mr. B. In that very case, again, please don't panic. What you need to do is choose any one of the names. Suppose I chose Mr. B. I would write like this: in respect of Mr. B case, it was held at. Let us take a practical example now. In your CPT, in Indian Contract Act, you studied a very famous case law, Mohori Bibi versus Dharmodash Ghosh case. In this case, you were taught that it was held a contract with minor is void ab initio. Let us take a very assumption that in auditing there is a question whether contract with minor is void ab initio. I am simply taking an example for the sake of understanding. Now, in examination, if you are in a dilemmatic position whether it is Mohori Bibi versus Dharmodash Ghosh or Dharmodash Ghosh versus Mohori Bibi, don't panic, because still you are bound to excel. For one reason, at least you do remember what was the judgment which is applicable for this very question. If you do remember the judgment, then don't panic. Simply write this way: in respect of Dharmodash Ghosh case, it was held at contract with minor is void ab initio. Fine answer. Or you can write in respect of Mohori Bibi's case, it was held at contract with minor is void ab initio. Fine answer again. So please don't panic. Let us take second worst situation. The second worst situation is that we are not able to recall up what was the case law name, whether it was Mohori Bibi versus Dharmodash Ghosh or whether there was a name or not. If in examination you are not able to recall the name of the case law, I would recommend don't leave the question unanswered. I would recommend rather write this way: in a decided case law, it was held at contract with minor is void ab initio. There is a saying, something is better than nothing, but that something doesn't mean that you need to write vague answers. So please don't write vague answer, but write these kind of appropriate answers like this: in a decided case law, it was held at contract with minor is void ab initio. Precaution number one. For the first example where I said choose any one of the name, for example in Dharmodash Ghosh case it was held at, that doesn't mean that in Income Tax Act you will choose any one of the name, because in Income Tax Act most of the cases are assessee versus CIT. So you cannot write in CIT's case it was held at, otherwise it would be a bad inculcation. Similarly, in second example I said in a decided case law it was held at. That doesn't mean that you people are not recommended to remember the case laws. This strategy need to be applied only and only when, due to confusion, due to nervousness, or due to some other circumstance, you are not able to remember the case law. Otherwise, the best option is write the case law in the right spirit. You might have seen in case laws, especially in study material, citations are given. For example, citation is 1881, ITR 230 and so on, volume this. There is no need to remember that citation. So please don't panic about the citation number. You can simply write in Mohori Bibi versus Dharmodash Ghosh case. Citation is absolutely not required, and this would be the right approach to write the appropriate answer. So before I move forward, let me see whether some questions are there or not.
Kamalji, we have a number of questions from students, some of which we would like you to answer. There's a student, Nikita, who's asking how to improve the vocabulary of audit. Please.
It's a very nice question, how to improve vocabulary for audit. As I started in the beginning and I said that you need to understand and remember certain very special words. There is only one thing. Whenever you see any technical word or typical word, the better way out is take a note of this word into a diary or a notebook and write explanation about it. Invest at least 10 minutes per day to simply review the pages of what you wrote about, and this will add to the vocabulary. Other option is make a habit of listening to the e-lectures available at studentslms.ici.org. Why so? When you will listen these lectures, all the faculty members over here are specifically stressing upon the choice of words. So once you will listen these words again and again, you will get an idea of retention over here. So I would recommend only two things. Take a note of these specific words into a diary or notebook, and number second is repeat the lectures on the website studentlms.ici.org.
There's a question from Nikita. She's asking how to improve the audit vocabulary.
Again the same question, how to improve vocabulary of audit. So the repetition would be take specific choice of words from your books into the diary. For example, you were studying the standard SA 500. In SA 500 the words used are much of the audit evidence available to the auditor is persuasive in nature and not conclusive in nature. It means that there are two special words, persuasive in nature and conclusive in nature. The word is persuasive, other is conclusive. What you need to do, underline these words, take out these words into your notebook. In notebook you will give a heading, vocabulary of audit jargons or vocabulary of audit paper. Number one word, persuasive. The meaning would be convincing in nature. Number second is conclusive. It means concrete in nature. Let us take an example, very small example to understand these two words. And you can write these examples in your notebook once you prepare yourself. Let us assume the client has hired me for the purpose of vouching and verifying telephone bill payment. Now the client can give me these kind of evidences. Number one is payment acknowledgement. Number second is bank statement if I had paid through check. And number third is counterfoil of the check. Or if I made online payment, then transaction ID. If all the associated audit evidences are available to me, it will become nothing but conclusive evidence. That is concrete in nature. There is no doubt about it. In a worst case, it can happen that out of these 3-4 evidences, either one or two of the evidence may not be available. For example, client may be able to show that payment has been debited into your bank statement, but may not be able to furnish a telephone bill. In that very case, you would be having a so-so idea that yes, payment has been made, and this is your professional judgment. If some of the evidences are not present, but somehow you are having an impression that it is okay sort of thing, it is nothing but convincing evidence or persuasive evidence. Now what you need to do is, for this very question, how to improve vocabulary, write these words, explain these words with examples. And examples can be taken from ICAI portal studentslms.ici.org because every faculty has given examples for these technical words. Other questions?
There's another question from Shrikant who says, can you please tell me about the brief preparation to be done for the exam? For this, I would suggest we have a download section on this link wherein this aspect has been covered. And if you look at the practice manuals issued by the institute, there again you'll know what has been the past trend, how many questions have been asked. There's one student who says, Sandhya, who says, I have a low command on English and that has perhaps been a reason why I could not succeed in my earlier attempts. What do I do? How do I move forward?
See, I would suggest instead of making yourself in a panic mood that I have low command on English, rather we should put a question that I am not good at writing good vocabulary of English. What I would suggest, instead of making a panicful attitude, practice. Take the past question, answer it out. Take the past question, answer it out in point-wise format. Instead of writing in paragraph format, write in point-wise format. Check each and every point with the study material, whether I am writing correct point or not. In that very case, it would be a right inculcation to improve your English. Let us take an example how to improve English. Try to improve your English first from your mind. We are not able to write good English for one reason, because we do focus on two things. Number one is sophistication. Should I write heavy words or simple words? Number second is, most of the people are quite focusing upon whether I should use has, have, had and something else after I would recommend write plain simple English. Don't go into sophistication, but yes, add to it the technical words. For example, there is a question in examination. What is the meaning of compliance procedures and substantive procedures during the course of audit evidence? The sophisticated language is, compliance procedures are those procedures which ensure that internal control system is existing, is efficient and is operating effectively on continuous basis. Instead of digging into such kind of technical language, if you are not able to command the English vocabulary, use the simple terms but technically correct terms. For example, through compliance procedures, auditors check whether internal control system is sound or not. This would be the right scenario. So instead of focusing upon sophistication, come to the simplification by using your own words but technically correct words.
There's another question from a student, Roshan, who wants to have an explanation on compliance procedures in obtaining audit evidence.
Okay, compliance procedures are those procedures which ensure that internal control system operating in any entity is sound enough, is existing and is working on effective basis. I repeat, is working on effective basis. Let us take a small example. Every student is aware about that we need to prepare bank reconciliation statement. Bank reconciliation statement is one of the compliance procedure which make it sure, which ensure us that the balances as per bank book and balances as per bank statement are matching, and if they are not matching, we would be having certain reconciliatory items. This is nothing but a compliance procedure. The word itself says compliance. Compliance means whether entity is complying with its own policies and procedures in respect of its financial transactions. Let us take one more example. If I need to purchase a laptop for my company, I cannot purchase laptop for my company without taking permission in writing from my senior. Now, if my senior has not given me permission in writing to purchase a laptop, but I purchase a laptop, it is the indication that compliance procedures are weak. So compliance means whether internal control policies are followed effectively or not.
There's another student who says, when I am writing answers, should I use the legal terms as per the law or as per the accounting auditing standards, or I use the terms which are in the study material of the institute or other books, or should I use my own language?
I would recommend you should use your own language, but that to not technical front, correct note. For example, let us take the language which is used in study material. In study material, the language used is, for example, I am taking the example of SA 580 on written representation. Study material says, management representation is an acknowledgement in written format obtained by the auditor from the management about various assertions made by the management before the auditor. A very sophisticated technical language. Change it out. We can change it up. You can simply write, management representation or written representation is a declaration taken by the auditor from the management in respect of various explanations made by management before the auditor. What I am trying to convey is, language could be your own language, but it must be technically correct language. Technical words never mean that you need to use the absolute word copy paste from study material practice manual. It can be your own word as well. But yes, don't make a technical error. For example, unqualified report, which I took in the beginning. Don't write in unqualified report the word like objection, because objection never means auditing. It is investigation per se. So you need to write technically correct language, which could be either your own language or study mat language. Thank you very much.
Just another question from Harish. He wants to know whether he should start a study chapter wise or from the essay.
I would recommend start your studies from essays, because most of the essays are again repeated into the chapters. For example, SA 230 documentation. For example, SA 315 about audit risk and internal control system. You will find these two aspects in chapter number 1 and chapter number 2 as well. For example, there is one more standard, SA 530 about audit sampling. You will find this very standard into chapter number 3 on audit sampling. So once you cover majority of auditing standards, most of these auditing standards will be there into various chapters. Or I would say around 25 of the auditing standards are being segregated in chapter number 1 to chapter number 5. So hierarchy would be first the auditing standards, then the chapter of vouching and verification, then the chapter of company audit, then the chapter of special audit. This would be the hierarchy. Balance time is for the peeping into chapter number 1 to chapter number 5 as to what auditing standards are all about.
There's another question from Gayatri who's asking how to do vouching and verification in case of a NGO.
NGO primarily is a non-governmental organization whose motto is not to earn profit. Simply putting, divide your answer into common points and other points. Let us take a situation. If I am deputing you to audit NGO, what you will do? Simply putting, auditing is nothing but post-mortem examination of what has had happened. Auditing basically is the examination of what has had happened. Meaning thereby, you will go there and you will examine accounting aspects, you will examine legal aspects, you will examine taxation aspects. So just divide the answer in this way. Common points. Common points would be point number 1. Obtain letter of engagement from the governing body of NGO. It means that the governing body of NGO will give you the proposal that you are going to be appointed as our auditor. Number 2, obtain written representation about various aspects of NGO financial statements, meaning thereby you will receive written acknowledgement from the management of NGO that these are the things which we did for the financial statements. Number 3, you have to write, obtain an understanding about efficiency and soundness of internal control system and accounting system operating in this NGO. This is point number 3 because of requirement of SA 315. Once these common points are being put up, you need to write general points. General points, very simple one. Take any accounting, 4 things will remain common. Primarily, auditor need to examine only these 4 things. Income, expense, asset, liability. I repeat, auditor need to examine only 4 things. Income, expense, asset and liability. These 4 things are surrounded by many aspects. For example, if I go to the revenue front, revenue is surrounded by AS9, revenue is surrounded by sales tax because of VAT and many other things. Similarly, if I go to assets, we do have fixed assets. Fixed asset is surrounded by AS10, AS6, that means fixed asset accounting and depreciation. Fixed asset is surrounded by AS28, impairment. What I am trying to convey is, don't panic with how to audit. Just try to find out what need to be audited. We need to audit only 4 things: income, expense, asset, liability, be it any accounting. Now, if you choose auditing of NGO, divide your answer into 4 categories again. Main heading would be audit of NGO, sub-point would be audit of income side, second subheading would be audit of expense side, third subheading would be audit of assets, fourth subheading would be audit of liabilities. Now you would be having sub-points with more sub-points. For example, the very first heading is, let us assume audit of assets. Point number 1, vouch and verify whether fixed assets are existing on the balance sheet date or not. That means AS10. Number 2, verify whether the NGO has given fixed assets as a security for loans being taken by it. Number 3, vouch and verify whether depreciation has been correctly provided or not on these fixed assets. Number 5, verify whether these fixed assets are under financial lease or operating lease and so on. When you will find these kind of points, you will be having a rich answer. So don't panic about the bookish language or study mat language or practitioner language. You need to write your own general technical perception. Moving a step ahead again, let us come to liability side. In liability side, NGO might be having certain loans. Just you need to write verification of loan. Point number 1, verify whether loans have been taken from any bank after authority from the senior management. Verify whether interest has been correctly provided for on this loan or not. Verify whether the loans being taken from the bank are being repaid on time or not. Simply putting, things are again before you. Asset over, liability over. Come to income side. In case of income, NGO may receive income either from the government in the name of subsidy. NGO can receive donations. Now, simple thing, verify whether NGO has received subsidy in compliance with the terms and conditions with the government. Verify whether the donations received by the NGO are complying with the policies and procedures of NGO. Verify whether donations received are to be utilized towards the capital of the NGO or to the revenue of the NGO and so on. Now come to the expense side. What are the expenses? Primarily NGO need to incur expenses on account of various salaries, on account of social welfare, etc., etc. So you need to write like this: verify expenses, whether wages and salaries are paid on time or not. whether TDS has been provided on time or not, and so on. This way you would be having 4 limbs of the answers. The major limb would be, the major satellite would be common points, in which you need to write letter of engagement, management representation, understanding about internal control system. Then there would be limbs. Limbs means verification of financial statements. Divide this limb of verifying financial statement into 4 limbs. That is verification of income, verification of expense, verification of asset, and verification of liability. You would be having a rich answer. 8 marks question, 12 marks question. Any case, you are bound to get around 90% into it. Meaning thereby, if you are having 8 marks of question, you may be able to score around 7 marks. And with this very ideology, I am trying to convey number 1 thing. Write concepts. You wrote concepts, what I told you. Number 2, write your own language, but technically correct language. When I was writing like this, verify whether assets have been properly accounted for or not, whether depreciation has been provided or not. There is nothing bookish language involved into it. It is purely your language. And if you see past answers of ICAI even, in some of the questions which are not present into the practice manual or into study mat, general questions are there. Even the language is different. It is quite difficult and absurd to say that we need to write the section as it is, the law as it is. What you need to write is, write provisions not as it is, but write as it is. Meaning thereby you need to write technically correct answer. So let me check whether some more questions are there or not. Okay, let us wait for the questions. Moving a step ahead now. You can download the presentation which is given along with this webcast, and you will make an analysis that there is a percentage breakup of chapters being asked in past up till May 2013 into examination. Once you will see, you would be able to categorize your study plan, what to study first, what to study later on. As I said earlier also, I will say again, the study plan should be first the auditing standards, then is the vouching verification, then is the special audits, and then is the appointment and removal of auditor. Let me come to one very basic thing. A very core section into your audit paper is section 227 about true and fair view. Please do concentrate on this very section in a very right earnest. If an examination section is not known or not able to be recalled up, simply write as per the provisions of Companies Act. What you need to do in examination is, whenever there is a problem-based question, always do write, since this is a lapse, the financial statements would not be reflecting true and fair view, and hence auditor need to issue qualified report. Try to use this expression true and fair view in most of the questions which are based upon problems. In this very examination which happened in May 2013, there was a change in the pattern. In question number 2, they asked around 10 points, out of which 8 were to be answered. It was comment on the following points. There was a choice of answering around 8 points out of 10 or 12 points. Now this question was a fantastic question. Simply putting, if you see this question was of 16 marks. Out of 16 marks, the weightage was something like that. Out of 16, around 70% weightage was given to auditing standards, around 20% weightage was given to company audit, and 10% was to accounting standards and certain other aspects. So if you see this question, prima facie will find there is a large extent of weightage on auditing standards. Please do focus on auditing standard. If you have downloaded the presentation along with this webcast, you can see a column is there, examiner's comment. In those examiner comments, you can see there is a point, it is being written that students were not aware of or not having knowledge of ICAI publications. So please do read ICAI publications for one reason at least, just to know the syllabus. I have seen students, they are not even aware of the syllabus, what they need to read. I would again recommend, please don't do selective study. See the study materials, see ICAI portals to see what is the syllabus, what is the study content, and so on. For example, some students met me day after the examination and they said that they don't know what is surprise check. And they somehow were shouting that surprise check is not in the syllabus. I told them, and let us correlate this very thing. In your study material, planning for the audit, chapter is planning for the audit, preparation for the audit, a very big paragraph is there about surprise check. Who is at loss? I would say students only. So I would recommend all the students on a very strong notice, see your study material about this study-based content, surprise checks for example. Some students said there is no concept about audit sampling. Audit sampling is a complete chapter into the ICAI paper number 6 auditing assurance. So see your study material for the contents which you need to study. Let us see the certain questions.
Akhil is asking a question, should we study guidance notes or not?
Absolutely yes. Guidance notes are very much into the syllabus of IPCC auditing and assurance, so you need to study guidance note. But again I would recommend guidance note again are covered in your chapters of vouching and verification. And these guidance notes are very simple. For example, there is a guidance note on how to vouch and verify summary debtors. Now you know the very basic technique. For example, technique number 1, write the point about internal control system. Technique number 2 is you need to write about management representation. Technique number 3 is you need to write about letter of intent. Now once you write these points, then you need to write, if you need to vouch debtor, sales, cash sales, credit sales, etc., etc. So you need to study guidance note. Summarizingly, guidance note is in your syllabus and it needs to be covered up.
There's a question from Hemant. He says auditing is such a dry subject. I'm not getting interested. How do I get interested in the subject and really understand the concepts and I'm able to work?
To get interested into auditing, become a fault finder. So simply see whether management is doing right things or bad things. Once you will be having the idea that I need to find the mistakes, auditing will get interesting. Meaning thereby, suppose that you are going to audit any function or any payment of wages. Just bear in mind, entity has paid wages and salaries. I need to find the faults. Find the faults, auditing will get interested.
Preeti is asking a question, when I'm answering in the examination, should I answer in paragraph form or in point form?
I would recommend you should answer in point-wise form, because once you write the points, somehow the answers become readable and legible. And I would say it would be having a psychological impact as well, because it will add to the richness of the answer. To take an example, let us assume there is a question of write a short note on depreciation. Now this question carries, let us assume, 5 marks. On depreciation, if you are writing a paragraph, it will be some kind of a dry paragraph. Write point wise. For example, point number 1, definition of depreciation. Point number 2, methods of depreciation. Point number 3, discuss about methods of depreciation. Point number 4, discuss about legal provisions of 205 about depreciation. Once you would be writing these points, so I assume that you would be able to write around 10-12 points about depreciation, which is quite easy, not a big deal. Once you write 12 points or so on depreciation, somehow there would be psychological feeling. Question carries 5 marks and student is writing around 12 points. So if I give 1 mark for each point, it would be somehow a 12 total. So not the 12 out of 5, but you can get around 3 or 4 out of 5. So this will be the point-wise shape.
There are 2 questions on Karo, one from Veena as to how to prepare for Karo, and another from Pavan Kumar, who wants to know whether Karo 2013 would be applicable, 2003 would be applicable, or Karo 2004 would be applicable.
Let me begin with the Karo's applicability first. In fact, Karo 2003 as well as Karo 2004 both are applicable. I should say like this, Karo 2003 as amended by a notification in 2004. So what you need to study is Karo 2003 as amended by 2004 notification. Let me give an example what happened. In Karo 2003, there was a requirement that auditors need to report whether short-term funds have been used for long-term purposes and vice versa. Now in 2004 notification, what the Ministry of Corporate Affairs did, it omitted the words vice versa. Meaning thereby, if I go to a correlation, in 2003 the wordings were whether short-term funds have been used for long-term purposes and vice versa. In the new version as amended, the words are whether short-term funds have been used for long-term purposes. These 3 words and vice versa are omitted. So that simply is the amendment. So you need to do both. Or in much more simple sense, you need to do only Karo 2004 because that amendment is only applicable. As far as preparation of Karo is concerned, the best way out to prepare Karo is only one. Read Karo from study material and then download the annual report of any of the listed company. If you download the annual report of any listed company, you would have 2 correlations. One is the requirement of Karo and one is the reporting under Karo. For example, if you downloaded the annual report of any of the listed company from the internet, in that very case, study material will say in Karo para number 4 subpara number 1, whether fixed assets have been verified at reasonable intervals or not. Now, this is the requirement of CARO which is given in study mat. Come to the audit report of that very listed company, they would have reported like this: the fixed assets have been physically verified by the management at regular intervals in a phased program. So this will give you an idea how to prepare. Most importantly, each and every paragraph of CARO, I mean to the sub-paragraph CARO, deals with certain elements. For example, CARO clause 4 sub-para 1 deals with fixed assets, sub-para number 2 deals with inventories, sub-para number 3 deals with loans given to or taken from section 3 parties. I would recommend to give headings to all these 21 points of CARO. That means the point number 1 would be fixed assets reporting, point number 2 would be inventories reporting, point number 3 would be loans reporting, point number 4 would be internal control system reporting, point number 5 would be guarantees reporting, and so on. Once you would be having these headings of each and every point, it will become easier for you to recall what I need to report.
There's a question from Shrikant. He wants to know, when answering in the examination, should I quote case laws? Is it compulsory? Or is there any benefit of quoting case laws when I'm answering in the exam?
Answer is yes. If a question is there which is directly based upon case law, you must quote the case law. But again, I said earlier also, if you write the case law, it will add to the quality of answer and the marks as well. But in a very worst case, if you are not able to recall the case law or you are not able to put the case law, try a different strategy. Meaning thereby, for example, you can write in a decided case law it was held at least if not 5 on 5, you would be able to score somehow 3 out of 5. That would be a basic ideology behind not quoting or quoting a case law.
Akhil is asking a question. Should we study guidance notes or not?
Answer is yes, you must study guidance notes because these are into your syllabus, but study only those guidance notes which are applicable to you, because ICA, I have issued several guidance notes, some of which are applicable in CA final and some of which are not applicable in IPCC. For example, there is one guidance note on reporting for offer documents. This guidance note is not applicable for IPCC. For example, guidance note on tax audit 2013 edition. This is not applicable for November examination. So you need to study only those guidance notes which are applicable for your syllabus. The list of these guidance notes can be taken from ICI.org, where Board of Studies has announced list of publications applicable for November examinations.
Saurabh wants to know how to prepare the essays.
The best way to prepare essay is prepare notes. Read the essay from the study mat, understand the concept, solve the past questions and prepare notes. Let us take step-by-step procedure. Step number 1, study essays from your study material. Step number 2, once you study the standards on auditing from study material, prepare these notes into your notebook or a diary. Number 3, see past questions. Step number 4, solve those past questions. When you solve those past questions, again come back to your notebook. For example, in notebook you prepared a noting that simply by taking written representations, auditors are not relieved of their reporting responsibilities. In such a case, what we need to do, after this very noting, within brackets write down, refer past examination question number this from this very page of study material. This would be helpful to you in quoting the right scenario into the examination. So steps are again the same: read from study material, prepare the notes, solve past questions, cross-reference the past questions into your notebooks. Essays would be prepared. I would repeat one thing once again: don't be too much fanatic about essay numbers. Instead of cramming essay numbers and being a painful situation, what you can do an alternate situation, alternate strategy. You can write this way: as per engagement and quality control standards in relation to this topic issued by ICI. I would like to quote one very big thing over here: all the auditing standards are also not applicable for IPCC. Up till now, 43 auditing standards have been issued on different topics. Some of the auditing standards are not applicable in IPCC. For example, SA 800 series may not be applicable. Board of Studies yet to announce. Our standard is there, SAE 3400, examination of prospective financial information. It is not applicable to IPCC. So be very categorical whether all the essays are applicable or not, because some of the essays are not in your applicability criteria. Let me move one step ahead. Take a small example. The management of ABC Limited has valued the inventory on LIFO basis advised as an auditor. Let us add richness into this question. Most of the students, when they will answer like this: inventory valuation as per LIFO is prohibited as per AS to issue qualified report, and they will give a draft comment. It will not end up here. Add the richness. For example, richness number 1. See, if in this question the words used are the management of ABC Limited has valued the inventory on LIFO basis, it means that if the entity is ABC Limited, being a public company, CARO is applicable to it. It means that you will write point number 1. Point number 1 would be inventory has been valued on LIFO basis, which is not as per AS2. Accordingly, auditor need to issue qualified report. Point number 2, you need to write that further, if inventory has been valued on LIFO basis, it signifies that material discrepancies are there in context inventory. Report under CARO clause 4 subclause number 2. This will add to a boost up into the answer. Similarly, let us take one more example. The example is certain fixed assets were destroyed by fire, advised as an auditor. If the question is certain fixed assets are destroyed by fire, advised as an auditor, you need to write not only AS10, but you need to write your CARO as well if CARO is applicable to the question. You will write as per clause 4 subclause 1 of CARO, the statutory auditors need to report whether fixed assets are substantially disposed of or not, and if there is the disposal, whether there is any impact upon going concern or not. This will again add up, boost up to your answer. Meaning thereby, once you see a problem-based question into examination, do only one thing. See what things, what legal aspects can be applied to each and every question. Accounting, laws, in which question number 1 is compulsory. Students somehow feel and they do ask, should we attempt question number 1, question number 2, question number 3, question number 4 in the same sequence, in the same line, or can we jumble up question number 4, question number 1, question number 3, question number 2 and so on? Answer to both the question is yes, but with a precaution. If question number 1 is having 4 parts, part number A, part number B, part number C and part number D, the recommendation would be all these parts must be at same place. That should not be a scenario that question number 1, part A, part B are on page number 2 of the answer sheet, and part number C and part number D are on page 9 of the answer sheet. They should be at the same place. That is even the instruction of examination department once you see the examination sheet. Other thing is, primarily I would recommend questions would be in same sequence, but yes, if they are not in same sequence, that will also do. You can answer question number 6 first, question number 3 later on and so on. What I would recommend is, first answer those questions in which you feel comfortable, because once you answer known questions in a comfort zone, balanced questions will be on a very lighter side. You might have seen several times during the course of your studyship, a question is not sold into examination, but a question is getting sold at your houses. The reason being, we feel relaxed at our houses. So what I would recommend, first solve those questions in which you feel relaxed. Then solve those questions in which you feel panicked, because the questions in which you are feeling panic mode will get into relaxation mode once you will feel that majority of the portion is over. Moving a step ahead again, try to highlight the important points, important words in your answer sheet. That would add to the quality of presentation. But yes, focus upon your handwriting. If you see the presentation given to you, background material given to you, handwriting is one of the biggest issue. First 4 pages, handwriting is superb. Page number 5, page number 6, page number 7 and so on. Handwriting keeps on deteriorating. So better it would be make a consistency into handwriting. Handwriting is extremely important. Number 2 is avoid usage of short forms. Don't use SMS language into examination. Better it would be to write full forms. For example, while it is right to write P&L account, it is wrong to write ASAP for as soon as possible. It is absolutely wrong to write PFA for Provident Fund Act. It is absolutely absurd to write BA for Bonus Act. You need to write full forms, but don't use short forms. For example, majority students are writing ESC for equity share capital. You need to write full forms, equity share capital. You are going to write a literature with a technical sense, so please don't use short forms. Other precaution is, don't use red pen into answer sheet. Using a red pen into answer sheet may be taken as unfair mean by the examination department, so don't use any kind of color pen. I would recommend use blue pen only. Moving a step ahead, working notes. Every single time examination department, ICAI also recommends working notes should form the part of your answer. But in most of the cases, working notes are not there. For example, in case of auditing, there are 1 or 2 practical questions generally are asked about valuation inventory, about depreciation, impairment, etc. What happens? I need to put working notes on the answer sheet. In a hurried mood, in a hastiness mood, what happens? Working note is on the calculator. It never comes onto the examination sheet. For example, if in examination you need to compute stock reserve or unrealized profit, students in a very hurried way calculate the amount of stock reserve on the calculator, but they never put up such calculation onto the answer sheet. Marks may not be awarded. So please be careful that working note must be shifted from calculator to your answer sheet as well. Some people do ask the question, a very good question again. Some people did ask question like this: should I put working notes before the start of the answer, or after the answer, or in between the answer? Choice is yours. Working notes can be prior to the answer, working notes can be after the answer, working note can be in between the answer. For example, if there is a question, you can start with the working notes, then you can prepare balance sheet. If there is a question, you can prepare balance sheet first, then working notes, or you can write working notes within the balance sheet as well. For example, if you are computing stock reserve, in balance sheet on asset side you can write closing stock, rupees X. Within brackets you can write down how rupees X is calculated. That is nothing but computation of stock reserve and presentation of working notes. What I am trying to convey, write your working notes in a very, very suitable and drafted manner. Don't be under impression that if a balance sheet is tallied, question is correct. And that is question of auditing as well. In auditing, sometimes the questions have been asked about buyback of shares. Prepare a balance sheet. If balance sheet is tallied, questions may not be correct. Please do prepare working notes. Before I move forward, let me see if certain questions are there or not. Okay, let me proceed again. Coming to the company audit chapter. In company's audit, favorite areas are appointment and removal of auditor. Favorite areas are ceiling or number of audits. Favorite areas are branch audits. Favorite areas are vouching and verification of share capital, bonus issues, etc. etc. What I would recommend, make a statistical analysis. The background material is with you. You can see in the background material page number 1. Serial number is given, chapter contents are given, and chapter numbers are given. Prepare this strategy on that background. Serial number means first you need to prepare serial number 1, then serial number 2, and so on. That would be strategical preparation. In company's audit, it was found in past examination, students did a mistake for many reasons. Mistake number 1, quotation of wrong section. Please don't quote wrong section. As I said earlier also, I will say again, even if you are 99.99% sure about a section, don't write a section, because that 0.01% of unsurety will take a toll on your examination. Number 2 is, once they write the language of law, they are very, I would say, on a very wrong sense. Even a comma can make a difference. I would recommend, if you are not able to write a very technical superlative language, what you can do, simply put in a simple sense like this. The requirements of section 2 to 7 are summarized as below. Summary number 1, summary number 2, summary number 3, and so on. That would be the proper lookout. Let us take an example. The word includes and means make a big difference. In examination, there may be a trouble. Should I use the word include or should I use mean? Because in examination, we might not be able to recall what word was used. In such a case, devise a strategy again. Never write include, never write mean. You can simply write income do have the following essential ingredients. It will cover both means as well as include. So you need to devise this kind of strategy. Moving a step ahead again. In company's audit, several times a question has been asked. The question is, can audit fees be received in advance? Majority of the students always say, they always shout that if audit fees has been received in advance, then if the amount involved is for more than rupees 1000, there is no disqualification. The concept is wrong. If you see study material, in study material after section 226, it has been written over there, as per the opinion of research committee of ICAI, even if the fees for audit is received in advance, it will result in disqualification if the amount involved is for more than rupees 1000. Now, if students are not referring study material, then they have no right to say that it is out of syllabus. it is being there into study material and questions have been asked in past. Similarly, there was one more question which is quite favorite even today. The question is, Mr. X is the auditor of a company and he bought certain goods from that very company at a credit of, let us say, rupees 5,000, and such amount has not been paid even at the date of appointment. Question arises whether there is any disqualification or not. Some students write it is a disqualification because they were aware of the concept. Some students leave the question. Some students answer the question in a wrongful manner. In study material, it is also being written that even if the debt is being incurred for a sum of more than rupees 1,000 in normal course of business, it will result in disqualification. So please do refer a study material, because yes, content syllabus is always study material based. No book can take a substitute of study material syllabus. So please do refer only those books which are recommended by ICI. Simply for the sake of shortcuts, we cannot avoid study material. Moving a step ahead into company audit again. In company audit, there is one more concept about ceiling of audit. In ceiling of audit, it is being stated that an auditor can audit at most 20 companies in which private companies are exempted. Now students are moving with the notion that we can audit infinite number of company audits being a private limited company. Wrong conception. As per ICI guidelines of year 2008, private companies are not exempted up to a limit of 30. Meaning thereby, if I give an equation will be like this. As per ICI notification in year 2008, limits given under section 224(1)(b plus exemption under section 224(1)(b cannot exceed 30 statutory assignments. Now students are not aware of this ICI notification. They simply wrote, yes, we can have 20 audits of public companies and maybe infinite number of private companies audits. It's a wrong conception. Again the same thing. Once you study any chapter, please do refer study material about the additional contents which are being given into this very study book. Let us take certain questions which are waiting for us.
Gargi, there's a student, Dhanam, who wants to know where all are we losing marks typically? So what we need to take care to ensure that we don't lose marks.
We are losing marks for two reasons. One is the conceptual clarity, another is the presentation quality. Conceptual clarity, you need to focus a lot. Don't use bad words. Like I took the example even in the beginning of this seminar. Instead of using the word objection, use the word reservation once you write answer about unqualified report. Second is the presentation quality. Presentation is appropriate, is good on the first 4 pages. Then it becomes deteriorated. Please do focus on presentation. Presentation can be given in 3 points. I repeat 3 points as I said in the beginning. Point number 1, your title of the answer. For example, let us take a question once again. The management of ABC Limited has valued the inventory on LIFO basis. Comment. Answer would be point number 1, small heading, title. Explanation, valuation of inventory on LIFO basis by ABC Limited. Point number 2, aspects involved. In aspects involved, the explanation would be first discuss AS2, second discuss CARO if applicable, thirdly discuss what should have happened. That means inventory should have been valued at P4 weighted average cost basis. Third point would be conclusion. In this conclusion, you need to discharge your assurance function, because in point number 1 and point number 2 you did simply auditing function. In point number 3, you need to conclude like this: on the basis of above, it may be concluded that auditor should issue a qualified report as follows. Then give a draft report. When you will write all these things, the basic spirit of question paper is completed. Basic spirit are 2 spirits. Number 1 is auditing. You did audit? Yes, we did audit. Number 2 is assurance. Yes, we did assurance. What is assurance? Expression of opinion. And you are giving an opinion in your conclusion by giving a suitable draft of your audit report. This will add to the quality of answers, and this will add to your quality of marks and quantity of marks as well. Maybe from 40 to 70. So this would be the scenario for scoring good marks.
Pawan Kumar wants to know, while defining concept of materiality, do we need to write from the angle of SA 320?
I would suggest never say we need to write as per the angle of SA 320. you need to write as per the angle of legal and regulatory requirements as well. SA 320 simply defines what is materiality and what is the duty of auditor. But there are many laws in which materiality has been amply defined. For example, we do have revised schedule 6. In revised schedule 6, it is stated that any item of income or expense which is in excess of 1% of total revenue or rupees 1 lakh, whichever is higher, shall be separately disclosed. It is also materiality, meaning thereby, as I told in the beginning, once you audit, see two angles. One is auditing standard angle, other is the legal angle. And for materiality, both the angles are applicable. SA 320 about materiality and revised schedule 6 about regulatory requirements.
Chandan wants to know whether case study or other acts and accounting standards can be quoted when we are discussing auditing.
Absolutely yes. We can quote case studies and sections of other legal aspects into auditing. For example, let us take a very small example. In auditing, the examiner asks the question, how will you voucher verify payment of salary being made to the MD of the company? In that very case, you will write not only the vouching verification of what has been paid and how it has been paid, you can also write whether during the course of such payment, TDS has been provided for or not under section 192. So this will add to the quality. Because auditing is nothing. Auditing is a post-mortem examination of what we did accountingly and legally. So you need to write, or you can write even, the aspects of facets of other laws, regulations as well.
Raj wants to know, how do I prepare such that I'm able to revise the whole syllabus in one day before the exam, as it typically happens?
The best way to revise whole syllabus day before the examination is regular study. What you need to do, you need to review your notes being prepared on daily basis as of now. Once you review all these notes on daily basis, it would be quite easy to revise day before the examination. Let us take a practical example from life. Once we listen a song of any movie on regular basis, this song once listened on regular basis is always stored over here. And if somebody else is singing song before us, we're also able to correlate the wordings. And this happens for examination as well. Make a regular habit of at least 2 hours per day to review the pages of study material from your notes, whatever notes you prepared. If you will see the reviewing of these study materials, there would be a picture shot, snapshot into your mind. This is written on the page. Day before the examination, those notes would be the magical stick for you. You would be able to revise whole syllabus. I would recommend 2 steps are there. Step number 1, prepare notes from study material. Step number 2, keep on reviewing these notes on daily basis. A regular review will be helpful in revision day before examination.
Chandan wants to know whether CARO is applicable on a private company which is a subsidiary of a public company.
Absolutely yes. If a private company is a subsidiary of a public company, its status is becoming nothing but a deemed public company as per section 3 of the Companies Act. And for this reason, on public companies other than banking companies, insurance company, CARO is always applicable. So in this case, CARO would be applicable.
Varsha wants to know how to present the answer or write the audit program in special audit.
The very best way out is, once you draft an audit program, divide your answer into 2 categories. Number 1 is common points. Common points are always nothing but the agreement in between the management and the auditor. For example, in common points, you will write like this: letter of intent from the management representation, point number 2. Point number 3, obtaining the understanding of internal control system and accounting system, and something like that. Then give the other heading, other points. In other points, make 4 subpoints. 4 subpoints would be vouching verification of income. Second subpoint would be vouching verification of asset. Third subpoint would be vouching verification of expense. And fourth subpoint would be vouching verification of liabilities. Discuss vouching verification for all these aspects. It will give you a rich answer of vouching verification as well as special audits. This will add to the quality again. Now, moving to a step ahead in this auditing and assurance. We discussed a bit about how to present answers. We discussed a bit about how to focus upon study material. Let us do a very other discussion about past examination, how to look out a past examination paper. Students do have a complaint. The complaint is that answers given by ICAI are not matching with the answers given in practice manual or so. I would recommend, please do correlate latest amendments. Practice manuals are amended the answer which are suggested were past. So please do focus on amended scenarios. If you will not focus on amended scenarios, then there would be a notion always that answers are not updated. In suggested answers, answers are of old past. In practice manuals, answers are amended. So please do refer practice manual for the latest updations. And if you go to the website on ICA.org, there is Board of Studies Knowledge Portal. At the end of it, it is being written last updated. On that very last update, date would be given. For example, 24 January 2013. In that very case, the law stated, the answers stated into the practice manual are updated one up till 24th January 2013. And this would be the correct scenario. Somehow, even if it is felt that the answers are on a different side, you can take guidance from the faculties of Board of Studies. You can write to Board of Studies as well. And this very point is also given onto the website. For any discrepancy, for any difference of opinion, Board of Studies may be contacted. But that doesn't mean that we should say that answers are not matching. Rather, we should say amendments are not there with us. Always cover up the amendments, because take any examination from paper number 1 to paper number last. You will find at least 20% of the portion from amendments. For example, in your auditing this time, amendments may be applicable on account of auditing standards. SA 700 was amended some time back and format of audit report was revised. So this is applicable for the current examination. Focus on the amendments. Similarly, revised schedule 6 being amended note is again applicable to the examination. Moving a step ahead, in your examination, revised schedule 6 is applicable. Prepare revised schedule 6 at least for 2-3 scenarios at least. For example, prepare revised schedule 6 about how to disclose, how to present auditor's remuneration in the financial statements. Do concentrate on how to make a distinction between current assets, current liabilities, vice versa, non-current assets and non-current liabilities. Please also do focus on how to prepare and present P&L account. Let me take a very categorical example. In whole P&L account, the requirements are never stating about disclosure of repair and maintenance expenses. It is all about disclose repairs to plant, repairs to building, other repairs. In examination, if you are answering a question upon revised schedule 6, never club repairs and maintenance expenses together. Rather disclose maintenance expenses separately, because there is no separate head for maintenance into revised schedule 6. Other way around is, once you prepare revised schedule 6, if in examination a question is coming up, it can be any format into examination. Try to present your balance sheet as per the format of revised schedule 6. This will add to the quality of the answer. Similarly, once you prepare the balance sheet, give the appropriate disclosures as per the accounting standards. Let us take an example. If there is a question about amalgamation, club the balance sheet, give the suitable disclosure as per AS 14. Now, if I come to auditing, there may be a question, two companies are amalgamated, how will you audit the effect? You need to write whether appropriate disclosures were made or not, whether purchase consideration was appropriately accounted for or not, and so on. That would be auditing. Moving other way around, there is a big concept which students somehow left out, that is nothing but audit sampling. Please do cover up audit sampling in the right spirit. You can take the help of e-lectures available on the website of ICAI, studentslms.ica.org. Audit sampling is one of the core of this very auditing syllabus. Other is audit risk. On a very nutshell basis, let me clarify what is audit risk. Students somehow feel dilemmatic about what is audit risk. Risk somehow demonstrates probability. In more simple sense, let me put through a question. Even if audit is carried out, being auditors, can we make a surety, can we give an assurance that financial statements are free from material misstatements? Answer is no. We cannot give this surety. And this no is nothing but, despite audit being carried out, always there is a probability that certain misstatements might be there into financial statements. This probability is nothing but risk under audit risk of your syllabus. Meaning thereby, audit risk in a very simple sense, in a very layman language I would say, audit risk is the probability that financial statements may contain certain misstatements despite audit being carried out. And this is a very simple sense. Now, if I go ahead, audit risk always do have three types: inherent risk, control risk and detection risk. Let us understand one by one. Inherent risk. Inherent risk is the risk that financial statements may contain because of no internal control system. Meaning thereby, in financial statements, misstatements will remain because of absence of internal control system. That is nothing but inherent risk. Other one is control risk. Control risk means misstatements are there in financial statements because of weak internal control system. In a very nutshell manner, inherent risk will take place when there is no internal control system. Control risk will take place when there is a weak internal control system. Then comes detection risk. Detection risk will take place when auditors' vouching and verification procedures are not in a position to identify the misstatements. For example, I did vouching verification, but still I was not able to find out the misstatement. That is detection risk, because audit moves on two aspects. One is professional judgment, other is materiality. In that very case, it would be right to conclude that inherent risk and control risk primarily are the domains of management, and detection risk primarily is the domain of auditor. For this reason, if you understand this concept, things will become easy. In examination, they can ask a question, what is the relationship between the components of audit risk? Quite easy one. As I told you, audit risk can have three components: inherent risk, control risk and detection risk. It is quite easy to define a relationship. IR versus DR, inverse or direct? It is inverse. How come inverse? IR is the domain of management, DR is the domain of auditor. Now, whatever management says, auditor questions it. Now, if I am questioning it, it means that I am going against the management, and that's the reason that we say inherent risk and detection risk are indirectly related. Similarly, control risk versus detection risk, again indirectly related. Why so? Control is management, detection is auditor. Auditor is questioning it, that means again nothing but indirect relationship. For this very reason, I can say that inherent risk and control risk both put together are indirectly related to detection risk. I can also say that by virtue of standards 315 and 330 that inherent risk and control risk are directly related, because it is nothing but management versus management. So this is the relationship which we need to study. From this very concept, you need to understand 2-3 things. Number one, you can use your own language, like I use my own language, not StudyMat language, but yes, I use StudyMat concept. Number second is, I need to understand concept. What is the spirit behind this risk? The concept was, risk means the probability of misstatement. Once you understand the concept, it would be quite easy to easy to use right words in your answers presentations. Before I move forward, let me see certain questions are there or not.
Durga wants you to repeat about ceiling limit information.
Okay, let me repeat the ceiling limit information. In section 2241B, the ceiling limit is 20. While we compute this 20 limit, certain companies are exempted. For example, private limited companies. For this, ICAI issued guidelines in year 2008. I am repeating the equation which I gave you. The equation is, you can take a note, equation is limits given under section 224 subsection 1B plus exemptions given under section 224 subsection 1B is less than equal to 30. This exemption plus limit is the guideline given by ICAI in year 2008. To have these guidelines, you can go to the website ici.org and you can search Central Council General Guidelines 2008. I repeat the words, Central Council General Guidelines 2008. In those very guidelines, you can see these very limits.
Gayatri wants to know about arm's length price. What is arm's length price?
This arm's length price was asked in my 2013 examination in question number 2, last point, arm's length price. Now, primarily before I explain this arm's length price, this very concept is being discussed at 2 places by ICAI. One is Accounting Standard 18 about RP disclosures. RP means related party disclosures. This is again discussed in Auditing Standard SA 550 on RP again. Primarily, arm's length price means uninfluenced price. Uninfluenced price. Let us take an example. I am manufacturing certain materials. Let us say I am manufacturing cars. I am manufacturing cars and I am selling these cars in the market at rupees 8 lakhs per car. I am selling one car for rupees 8 lakhs in the market. Now I do have my relative. I am selling this car to my relative at rupees 6 lakhs. Now I am charging rupees 6 lakhs from my relative. This very amount which I charge from my relative is nothing but influence pricing. And this very amount which I charge from the market person is nothing but arm's length pricing, or in much more simple sense, uninfluenced pricing. In technical words, arm length price means a price which is involved between two persons. I repeat, arm's length price is a price which is involved between two persons, knowledgeable buyer and knowledgeable seller. When we say knowledgeable buyer and knowledgeable seller, we need to add one more feature. I repeat, arm's length price is a price which is involved in between knowledgeable buyer and knowledgeable seller in an uncontrolled transaction. In an uncontrolled transaction, that means uninfluenced pricing. So whatever price which we quote in market is arm's length price. Whichever price which we are quoting to our relatives or friends, these are influence price or known arm's length price.
Anjali wants to know, if I study the chapters thoroughly, do I still need to study the raw essays, or is it sufficient?
Answer is yes, you need to study other raw essays as well. For example, there are certain essays which are not covered into your chapters. To take an example, there is one essay, essay 220, quality control for audit work, that is being covered in your chapters. There is one more essay, for example, SA 450, evaluation of material misstatements. This very essay is not covered in chapters in length, so you need to go to very raw essay. If I go ahead, in your chapter it is being discussed what is misstatement, but in your raw essay it is discussed what are the types of misstatements. So you need to cover up both. That's why I told in the beginning, the study plan should be first cover whole of the essays in raw format, then cover your rest of the things. Once you cover essays, you will find majority portion of those essays are again given into chapter number 1 to chapter number 5. So study plan is first the essays, then balance things.
Rajesh says, when I study the question paper, I find that the questions are in general language, very general, based on common language. Should I answer it based on common language, or should I be very specific?
As far as question is concerned, question is absolutely perfect. Question paper were general in nature, but yes, you need to write the answers in a professional sense. When I say professional sense, it means that it would be not right to write that inventory should have been valued on LIFO basis. Rather, you should have write that inventory should be valued on FIFO basis because of AS2, and you need to issue qualified report because of engagement and quality control standards. What I'm trying to convey is, don't write that kind of answer which is being discussed in between two friends. For example, if I do have a friend, Mr. X, and I ask him, can inventory valued on LIFO basis? He said, no, you cannot. Now this you cannot be written into examination. You need to write justification as well. Why not? So for that reason, you need to club two things. You need to merge two things. One is the general knowledge plus the requirements about technical front. Meaning thereby, general knowledge is valuation inventory on FIFO basis. Technical sense is as per AS2. If you are not able to recall AS2, then as per the standards issued by ICI. So this will add the quality.
Ankit wants to know whether we should make charts when answering in the examination.
It would be a good thing to do. What you can do, write the theory first. Once you write the theory, you can write this way. The above discussion can be presented as follows through diagrams. It will add to the quality. But yes, don't put too much of your time into chart preparation. See the weightage of the question paper, see the time allowed to you and so on. Meaning thereby, don't dig too much into the examination for certain questions for the cost of other questions. Divide your 3 hours equally for each and every question, because one question might be excellent for you, other questions should not be left for you. I would add to one thing over here. For example, it may happen that you attempted question number 6. Once you attempted question number 6, you felt that I should have attempted question number 7. In that very case, before you cross question number 6, attempt question number 7. In most of the cases what happened, a student felt that I should have attempted question number 7. What he will do, he will strike down question number 6, then he will attempt question number 7. At the close of the examination, he may get other feeling that I should have attempted question number 6 alone, not question number 7. In that very case, it will not be advisable to do like this. Strike question number 7, and in question number 6, somebody may write, please check it, it was the right answer. Neither question number 6, neither question number 7. No question would be examined by the examiner, meaning thereby, don't cross the question before making any preconceived judgment. Be very, very careful before you cross any question. Other thing is cutting. It has been observed by the examiners, you can see in the background material as well, examiners who comment that cutting is too much into examination. Cutting of the words, usage of fluid, etc., etc. Don't use these kind of things. Try to write legible handwriting. Use full forms, not the short forms. Use simple words, not sophisticated words. Spelling mistakes, huge, huge, huge. Avoid spelling mistakes. For example, there is a word, contention. In most of the cases it is being written, the contention of management is invalid. It has been observed, instead of writing the word contention as C-O-N-T-E-N-T-I-O-N, it was written as contention, C-O-N-T-E-N-S-I-O-N. So please do focus on spelling mistakes. There should not be spelling mistake. One jargon is quite famously used, professional skepticism. Let us try to understand what is this professional skepticism. Professional skepticism means critical assessment of audit evidence being given. To take an example, it is said that in investigation there is a forensic. In investigation it is a forensic assessment, and in auditing there is a critical assessment. Let us take a very simple scenario. In case of auditing, whatever is being given to me, I do take it as a correct one unless and until something bad is coming to my notice. Whereas in case of investigation, whatever is being given to me for examination, I assume it as a bad one unless and until something good is given to me. It means that both approaches are separate. Auditors are known as professionally skeptical person, and for this, in your study mat, there is a very good case law, Kingston Cotton Mills Company Limited case, whereby it was said that auditor is a watchdog, not a bloodhound. So you need to make a list of these case laws which you need to cover up into examination. Now, before I wind up whole this discussion and say you good luck, let me devise a study plan for you. How to plan your study and how much time to invest for the sake of preparation. The preparation plan would be, first you need to study essays on the assumption that essays are yet to be covered up. To cover up the essays, do first strategy. The strategy first would be, go to ICA website, students.lms.ica.org, read essays from, understand essays from that very place. Once you understand essays from that very place, read from study material. This whole process will take somewhere around, I would say, around 60 to 70 hours. Once these essays are over, go to the pass examination. So, on a nutshell basis, you can keep 60 hours for essays. Essays are over. Then you can see the chapters, chapter number 1 to chapter number 5. Chapter number 1 to chapter number 5 over, absolutely over. Because all these chapters would be there in essays by default. So 5 chapters over. Then come to vouching verification. Don't put too much of your time into vouching verification for one reason. Because you need to vouch or verify only those things which you accounted for. Let us take an example. What is accounting? Accounting is pay the wages, pass the journal entry. For example, wages account debit to cash account. What is auditing? Auditing is verify whether journal entry has been passed or not. So what you need to do is, you need to write whether accounting has been made or not. Simply give a reading to vouching verification chapter and you will get an idea what to write and how to write. Vouching verification will take somewhere around, I would say, 3 to 4 hours for the chapter over. After vouching verification, straightforward come to special audits. Special audits, I told technique in the beginning as well, how to write 4 limbs, income, expense, asset, liability with the common points. With this very technique, this very strategy, just give a reading to study mat answers, study mat content. You will find that you would be having some more points than study material. If study material is having 10 points, you would be able to write 50 points on this very technique. So again, the strategy would be around 8 to 10 hours for a special audit. So totality, I would say, first is essay, then vouching verification, then special audit, then come to company audit. In case of company audit, be very, very concentrative. Because this company audit chapter about appointment, removal of auditor can be asked at 2 places. One in the auditing, one in the corporate law as well. I mean to say your law, ethics, business communication, etc. So be very, very concentrative. Then is CARO. To prepare CARO, I would suggest, which I suggested earlier also, to prepare Caro, prepare the headings of each of the 21 points and see the annual report of any of the listed companies. You would be able to understand Caro. There would be no need to do any rectification or cramming of the answers. Other than that, once you go to the examination hall before, just day before the examination, what you need to do, first thing, whatever is left, be it on a side note. If you have not covered a chapter as of now, don't start its preparation day before the examination. It will take a toll on those subjects, those topics which you already have covered. Second thing, whatever you have covered, revise. Review. Avoid last minute rush. Make a strategy. Just during the course of preparation, take out around 60 to 70 questions that I need to cover up these 60-70 questions. These 60-70 questions should be taken out in such a manner that whole syllabus should be covered. And the best way out to have these 60-70 questions is only one: past examination questions. See past examinations for at least 5 attempts. I repeat, see past examinations for at least 5 attempts. Once you see all these 5 past examination attempts, you will feel the confidence. Yes, I did something in syllabus. The story will not end up over here. Regional councils at various places do announce mock tests under the guidance of Board of Studies. Appear for those mock tests. For that very reason, there would be an inculcation of what you learnt, what you implemented. And most importantly, be very concentrative on ICA announcements from time to time. For example, ICA announcements on applicability of various publications, latest lectures available on students.lms.ici.org, plus latest amendments which are being made available to you on RTPs, then ICA guideline answers which are published by the Board of Studies faculty members. See these publications, see the past questions, and this will add to the preparation. Before I move forward, let me see certain questions are there or not. Moving a step ahead now. If I give you a hierarchy, you can take a note of this hierarchy for your preparation. Once essays are over, you need to see the questions asked in past. Once company audit is over, see the questions asked in past. Once vouching verification is over, see the questions asked in past. Let me take certain more words. In examination, if the question is asking like this, comment as an auditor. Comment simply does not mean that you need to write the legal provisions. You need to write comment as well. For example, if it is like this, the turnover of the company is less than rupees 1 crore. Whether tax audit is applicable or not, comment. If this kind of question is there, you need to write like this. Since the turnover of the company is not exceeding rupees 1 crore, tax audit would not be applicable, and accordingly, the comment would be, and accordingly, on the basis of section 44AB of the Income Tax Act, it may be concluded that the assessee need not file form 3CD with the Income Tax Department. That's a comment. Meaning thereby, when we say comment, comment means write the legal provisions as well as your opinion. Similarly, other word is discussion. When we say discussion, it means that you need to put forward in the answer both the things, in favor and in against, and in a conclusion. For example, it may be a question, audit risk adds to the quality of audit of financial statements. Discuss. What you need to do? Discuss advantages of audit, discuss disadvantage and advantage of audit risk, then give your conclusion. How come presence of audit risk may be good or bad for any audit exercise? That is the word discuss. Similarly, one more word is there. One is comment, other is discuss, other is explain. Explain means simply give the legal provisions. Conclusion is not required. These very things must be kept in mind once you answer the question, because majority portion of auditing is not only the concepts but also the presentation. Moving ahead, I would recommend on a very strong notice, refer practice manual. Practice manual will help you on very big thing. Practice manual will help you out in how to write the answers. If you see the practice manual or the past questions, you will see in most of the cases answers are given in a very particular fashion. For example, first the legal provision, second is the conclusion. First is the title, then the conclusion. You need to adopt that very approach. And if you refer practice manual, at least you will give the confidence as well. Meaning thereby, practice manual being referred, confidence number 1 about presentation, confidence number 2, yes, I am able to answer the questions, Confidence number third, yes, I can appear in the examination with a wholehearted scenario. This would be the right approach. Most importantly, if you see the background material available to you on this very downloadable section, see the percentages. In those very percentages, chapter numbers are given. Take the chapter numbers, and once you are able to cover up around 60% of syllabus, I repeat, if you are able to cover up 60% of syllabus as per that very weightage, once you cover 60%, see all the past examinations, whether you are able to cover up 60% on papers as well or not. This will add the confidence boost up. So before I move forward, any further questions, sir? So I wish you all the luck. God bless you all. Should you have any queries or any issues, you can write to Board of Studies, and please do focus on ICI websites for e-learning, e-lectures and right approach.
Thank you, Kamalji, for a very excellent workshop on the strategy to qualify and excel. I'm sure after this workshop, students have a clear idea of what this subject is, how to go about preparing for this subject, and how to excel. Particularly your guidelines on, how to study the essay first. Your first 5 chapters are covered by that. The process is very clear, and I'm sure students will now be able to plan their studies in a much more meaningful and effective manner. On behalf of the Board of Studies and the Institute, we are indeed thankful to you for your kind efforts to serve the students. Thank you, sir.